Ada stood at the edge of a bustling street, the hum of Lagos's chaotic energy wrapping around her like a blanket. Neon lights flickered above, advertising countless eateries, each vying for attention with promises of flavors that would tantalize the taste buds. The scent of roasted suya mingled with the aroma of freshly baked bread from a corner bakery. This was Ada's haven, a city where every street was a gateway to a new culinary adventure. Raised by parents who worked tirelessly to make ends meet, Ada had grown accustomed to meals that came in styrofoam packs or on grease-stained plates. Her mother's favorite line was, "As long as it's hot and fills your belly, it's good enough." Over time, Ada had embraced this philosophy wholeheartedly, relishing the convenience and variety offered by the city's eateries. The kitchen in her small apartment remained spotless, not from meticulous cleaning but from disuse. To Ada, cooking was a chore best left to others. One evening, as Ada scrolled through her phone, an advertisement caught her eye. The grand opening of a new restaurant, Eden's Delight. The images were captivating: sleek interiors, chandeliers that sparkled like diamonds, and dishes plated so artfully they could be mistaken for works of art. The promise of gourmet meals at affordable prices was irresistible. "Chisholm, you have to come with me tomorrow," Ada said to her best friend over the phone. Chisholm's laughter echoed through the speaker. "Another restaurant? Ada, why don't you save some money and learn to cook for once? Life's too short for kitchen stress," Ada replied with a grin. "Besides, you'll love this place. Trust me." The next evening, Ada stepped into Eden's Delight. The restaurant was even more stunning in person. Polished floors reflected the golden glow of the chandeliers, and soft jazz played in the background. Waiters in crisp uniforms moved gracefully between tables, balancing trays laden with delicacies. Ada felt like she had stepped into a different world. The menu was a testament to culinary artistry, offering everything from spicy jollof rice to exotic seafood dishes. Ada ordered a plate of seafood pasta and a glass of wine, eager to indulge. When the food arrived, it was nothing short of perfection. The pasta was creamy, the seafood fresh, and the flavors danced on her palate. Chisholm, who had reluctantly joined her, couldn't deny the food's appeal. "Okay, I'll admit it. This place is impressive," she said, savoring a spoonful of pepper soup. "See? I told you," Ada replied triumphantly. That night, as Ada left the restaurant, she felt a sense of contentment. Eden's Delight was everything she'd hoped for, and more. Little did she know that beneath its polished facade lay a dark secret. In the weeks that followed, Eden's Delight became Ada's go-to spot. The staff recognized her by name, and the chef occasionally sent complimentary desserts to her table. Ada reveled in the attention and the luxury, convinced that she had found her culinary haven. "You're spending too much time there," Chisholm warned one afternoon. "It's not healthy to eat out so often." "Oh, please," Ada scoffed. "I've never felt better. Besides, their kitchen must be spotless. Have you seen how clean the restaurant is?" Chisholm shook her head, but didn't press the matter. She knew Ada too well to think she'd listen. Ada was firmly set in her ways, and it would take more than words to change her habits. One evening, as Ada enjoyed her favorite seafood pasta, she noticed something unusual. A faint, unpleasant smell wafted from her plate. She hesitated but shrugged it off, convincing herself it was her imagination. The food tasted as delightful as ever, and she saw no reason to complain. However, that night, Ada woke up with a sharp pain in her stomach. Waves of nausea hit her, and she spent the rest of the night in the bathroom. By morning, she was exhausted, but chalked it up to a minor bug. After all, how could anything be wrong with food from a place like Eden's Delight? The city continued its race against time, and so did Ada, unaware that her love for convenience would soon lead her down a dangerous path. Ada's love for Eden's Delight remained unwavering despite her recent illness. She convinced herself it had been an isolated incident, a mere coincidence. But Chisholm's words lingered in the back of her mind. "It's not healthy to eat out so often," her friend had said. For the first time, Ada began to notice things she had previously ignored. At her next visit, she observed how the waiters hurriedly cleaned tables, sometimes reusing utensils without replacing them. She noticed a waiter drop a napkin and place it back on the table without a second thought. The luxurious facade of Eden's Delight seemed to falter slightly, but Ada quickly brushed aside her doubts. The food was too good, too comforting to question. It was a busy Friday evening when Ada's trust in Eden's Delight was shaken again. She had just received her order when she spotted something dark lodged between the folds of her pasta. Her stomach turned as she realized it was a cockroach. Shocked and disgusted, she called the waiter, who hastily apologized and replaced her meal. "This happens in the best of places," the manager said, his tone calm and reassuring. "We'll ensure it doesn't happen again." But Ada couldn't shake off the image. For the first time, she left the restaurant with her appetite unfulfilled and her mind filled with unease. That night, Ada lay awake, replaying the incident in her mind. The cockroach wasn't just a mistake. It was a crack in the illusion she had clung to. Something wasn't right, and deep down, Ada knew it. Ada's uneasy feelings about Eden's Delight lingered, but she couldn't deny the magnetic pull of its charm. Determined to give the restaurant one last chance, she decided to visit again, this time with a more critical eye. As she entered, the usual warmth seemed colder, the polished floor less inviting. She brushed off the sensation, but her senses were alert. While waiting for her food, Ada's gaze wandered. She noticed a waiter slip out of the kitchen, his shirt stained and his face tense. Moments later, a faint yet unpleasant odor wafted into the dining area. It was subtle but unmistakable. When her meal arrived, she could no longer dismiss her suspicions. This time, Ada didn't take a single bite. Later that week, Ada found herself pacing in her apartment, her mind restless. "I need to know the truth," she muttered to herself. She devised a plan to uncover what lay behind the polished facade of Eden's Delight. Armed with a scarf to conceal her identity and a small flashlight, she returned to the restaurant late at night. The alley behind the restaurant was dark and eerily quiet. Ada found an unlocked service door and slipped inside. Her heart raced as she navigated the narrow corridor leading to the kitchen. What she saw stopped her in her tracks. The pristine image of Eden's Delight shattered before her eyes. Dishes piled high in a grimy sink, raw meat sat uncovered and swarming with flies, and a thick layer of grease coated the countertops. The once perfect Eden was a breeding ground for filth and disease. Ada's stomach churned as she stumbled out of the restaurant, the flashlight slipping from her trembling hands. She barely made it home before collapsing onto her couch. The vision of the squalor she had witnessed played on a loop in her mind. It wasn't just about the cockroach or the stomach pains. This was a betrayal of trust, a danger she had unknowingly embraced. Her phone buzzed, and Chisholm's name flashed on the screen. Ada hesitated before answering. "Chisholm," she said, her voice shaky. "You were right. I should have listened. That place, it's a nightmare." Chisholm's sigh of relief was audible. "Finally. But what are you going to do about it?" Ada's resolve hardened. "I need to change. No more shortcuts. It's time I take control of my life, starting with my food." The next day, Ada ventured into her kitchen, a space she had avoided for years. The countertops were bare, the cupboards empty save for a few dusty utensils. With Chisholm's help, she made a list of essentials and set out to stock her kitchen. As she walked through the market, the vibrant colors and fresh scents felt like a revelation. She chose vegetables, meats, and spices with care, feeling an unfamiliar yet empowering sense of control. Back at home, Chisholm guided her through the basics of cooking. "Start small," she said, handing Ada a knife. "Chop these onions while I prep the pot." Ada's first attempts were clumsy, her movements hesitant. But with each slice and stir, she felt a spark of pride. As the aroma of her first home-cooked meal filled the apartment, Ada realized she was experiencing something entirely new. It wasn't just about the food. It was about the effort, the learning, and the connection to something real. When she sat down to eat, the flavors were simple but satisfying. For the first time, she felt truly nourished, not just in body, but in spirit. Ada's journey had only just begun, but she was determined to see it through. Eden's Delight was behind her now, and the promise of a better, healthier life lay ahead. Ada spent the next week immersing herself in the art of cooking. She devoured online tutorials, watched videos, and bookmarked recipes that seemed both appealing and achievable. Chisholm visited daily, acting as both a mentor and cheerleader. Together, they tackled dishes one by one, starting with basic jollof rice and gradually moving on to soups and stews. Cooking wasn't without its challenges. Ada burned her first batch of plantains and oversalted a pot of egusi soup, but she refused to give up. With each mistake, she learned something new. Slowly but surely, the kitchen began to feel less like an alien world and more like a place of possibility. One evening, Ada decided to prepare dinner for Chisholm as a thank you for all her support. She chose a dish that was both simple and significant, a pot of steaming, fragrant fried rice paired with spicy grilled chicken. It was a meal she had always loved but never imagined herself making. When Chisholm arrived, the apartment smelled heavenly. Ada greeted her with a wide smile and a plate of perfectly cooked food. As they ate, Chisholm beamed with pride. "Ada, this is incredible. You've come so far in such a short time." Ada felt a swell of pride. For the first time, she understood the joy of creating something with her own hands and sharing it with someone she cared about. The experience was more fulfilling than any meal she'd ever eaten at a restaurant. As Ada's confidence in the kitchen grew, so did her desire to mend her strained relationship with Emeka. They had parted ways months earlier, his frustration with her lack of domestic skills being a major point of contention. Now, with a newfound sense of self-reliance, Ada felt ready to reach out. She called Emeka one afternoon, her voice steady but nervous. "I've been learning to cook," she said. "I'd love for you to come over for dinner, just to catch up." There was a pause on the other end of the line before Emeka replied, his tone cautious yet curious. "I'd like that." Ada spent the entire day preparing for Emeka's visit. She chose dishes she was confident in, yam porridge with fried fish and a side of sautéed vegetables. The table was set with care, and soft music played in the background when Emeka arrived. As they sat down to eat, Emeka was visibly impressed. "This is amazing, Ada," he said after his first bite. "I can't believe you made all this." Ada laughed, her cheeks flushing. "Believe it. I've been working hard." Their conversation flowed easily, the tension of the past replaced by warmth and understanding. By the end of the evening, it was clear that the dinner had not only rekindled their connection but also symbolized a fresh start. In the weeks that followed, Ada's life underwent a transformation. Cooking became a source of joy and creativity, a way to connect with herself and others. She began hosting small gatherings, inviting friends to share in her culinary experiments. The kitchen, once a place of intimidation, had become the heart of her home. Ada's journey was far from over, but she embraced each step with determination and gratitude. The lessons she had learned, from the importance of hygiene to the value of self-sufficiency, had reshaped her life. And as she looked ahead, she knew that the best was yet to come. Ada's new lifestyle brought her unexpected moments of joy and inspiration. One afternoon, while shopping for fresh produce at a local market, she ran into a familiar face, Mrs. Akanum, the head chef from Eden's Delight. The older woman looked frazzled, her usually impeccable attire replaced by a worn dress and tired eyes. "Mrs. Akanum?" Ada called out hesitantly. The woman turned, her expression brightening slightly. "Ada, my dear, what a surprise." They exchanged pleasantries, but Ada couldn't ignore the strain in Mrs. Akanum's voice. Curiosity got the better of her, and she asked, "How's everything at Eden's Delight?" Mrs. Akanum sighed deeply. "It's been difficult. After the health inspection, we've struggled to recover. The owners cut corners to save money, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I left last month." Ada felt a pang of sympathy. She knew firsthand how dangerous those shortcuts had been. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said sincerely. "But maybe it's a chance for a fresh start?" Mrs. Akanum nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps you're right. Thank you, Ada." That evening, Ada couldn't stop thinking about her encounter with Mrs. Akanum. The woman's plight resonated with her own journey of transformation. She decided to reach out to Chisholm for advice. "I want to help Mrs. Accanum," Ada explained over tea. "She's talented and passionate, but stuck in a bad situation." Chisholm smiled. "Why not collaborate? You've learned so much about food and hygiene. Maybe you two can start something new together." The idea took root in Ada's mind. She envisioned a small, community-focused cafe where quality and cleanliness were paramount. It would be a place where people could enjoy good food without fear, a stark contrast to her experiences at Eden's Delight. With a plan forming, Ada invited Mrs. Accanum to her apartment. Over a meal of freshly made vegetable soup and pounded yam, Ada shared her vision. "I want to open a cafe," Ada said, her voice brimming with excitement. "A place where people can trust the food and feel at home. I can't do it alone, though. I need someone with experience, someone like you." Mrs. Accanum's eyes widened in surprise, but a smile slowly spread across her face. "You've come a long way, Ada. I'd be honored to work with you." Together, they began drafting plans, from menu ideas to sourcing fresh, local ingredients. Ada felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about food. It was about creating something meaningful, something that could inspire others to value quality and care. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Ada and Mrs. Accanum secured a small, cozy space in the heart of the city. They painted the walls a warm, inviting color and decorated the interior with simple yet elegant furnishings. Chisholm helped with branding, coming up with the perfect name, Ada's Table. Word spread quickly among Ada's friends and acquaintances. Many were eager to support her new venture, offering to help with everything from promotions to menu tastings. The community's enthusiasm fueled Ada's determination to succeed. On opening day, Ada stood behind the counter, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. As the first customers walked in, she exchanged a look with Mrs. Accanum. They had come so far, and this was only the beginning. The opening day of Ada's Table was a resounding success. Customers marveled at the homely atmosphere and the fresh, flavorful meals. Ada and Mrs. Accanum moved seamlessly through the kitchen and dining area, serving up dishes that reflected both their personal stories and their shared vision for quality food. Chisholm was the first to leave a glowing review online, and soon the comments started pouring in. "A hidden gem," one patron wrote. "The food tastes like it was made with love." The feedback boosted Ada's confidence, and she began to see the cafe not just as a business, but as a space where people could connect over shared meals. That night, as Ada locked up, she stood in the middle of the empty cafe, taking it all in. The day had been tiring but deeply fulfilling. "This is what I was meant to do," she thought, her heart swelling with pride. As the days turned into weeks, the initial buzz surrounding Ada's Table began to settle. With the routine of running a cafe came unexpected challenges. Supplies didn't always arrive on time, and a sudden power outage one afternoon threatened to ruin a day's worth of prepared dishes. "Stay calm," Mrs. Accanum said, her experience shining through. "We'll make it work." Together, they found creative solutions, ensuring that no customer left disappointed. But Ada knew that keeping the business afloat would take more than quick thinking. It would require careful planning and perseverance. In the evenings, she pored over the cafe's finances, determined to keep everything running smoothly. It was overwhelming, but she reminded herself of why she had started this journey. With each problem she solved, her resolve grew stronger. One afternoon, as Ada wiped down a table, she noticed a man lingering near the entrance. Her heart skipped a beat. It was Emeka. He looked hesitant, as though unsure if he should come in. Taking a deep breath, Ada approached him with a smile. "Emeka, it's good to see you. Come in." Emeka returned the smile, his usual confidence softened. "I heard about the cafe. I wanted to see it for myself." Ada led him to a table near the window, where the afternoon light streamed in. She served him a plate of jollof rice and grilled chicken, one of the cafe's signature dishes. As he ate, his expression shifted from curiosity to genuine enjoyment. "This is incredible, Ada," he said. "You've really outdone yourself." They spent the next hour talking, the conversation flowing easily. Emeka seemed genuinely impressed by how much Ada had grown, and for the first time in a long while, Ada felt a sense of closure. Whatever their future held, she was proud of the woman she had become. As word of Ada's table spread, customers began requesting catering services for events. At first, Ada hesitated, worried about stretching the small team too thin. But Mrs. Akanum encouraged her to take the leap. "It's a chance to grow," she said. "We can handle it." Their first catering gig was a small wedding, and it was a resounding success. The guests raved about the food, and soon more inquiries poured in. Ada realized that this new venture could help sustain the cafe during slower periods, and she embraced the challenge. With each new opportunity, Ada's confidence in her abilities grew. She had come a long way from the woman who once feared the kitchen, and she knew there was still so much more she could achieve. The catering business brought Ada into contact with a diverse range of clients. At one particularly upscale event, she met Tund, a renowned food blogger and influencer. Tund was impressed by the quality and presentation of the dishes Ada's table provided. "This is some of the best food I've had in ages," he said, handing Ada his business card. "Let's collaborate. I'd love to feature your story and recipes on my platform." Ada hesitated. While the exposure would be invaluable, she wasn't sure if she was ready for the limelight. But Mrs. Akanum and Chisholm encouraged her. "Your story can inspire others, Ada," Chisholm said. "Don't shy away from the spotlight." After careful thought, Ada agreed. The collaboration turned out to be a turning point for the cafe. Tund's blog post went viral, attracting new customers from all over the city. Ada's table became a must-visit destination for food lovers. With the surge in popularity, Ada found herself busier than ever. Between managing the cafe, catering events, and handling the newfound attention, she struggled to find time for herself. One evening, after a particularly long day, Chisholm found her slumped over a stack of invoices. "Ada, you need to take a break," Chisholm said gently. "You can't pour from an empty cup." Ada sighed. "I know, but there's so much to do. I don't want to let anyone down." Chisholm placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You've already achieved so much. It's okay to step back and recharge. Let your team support you." Taking Chisholm's advice to heart, Ada began delegating more responsibilities to Mrs. Akanum and the staff. She also carved out time for self-care, reconnecting with her love for reading and long walks in the park. The balance she found renewed her energy and focus. Success brought its own challenges. One day, Ada received an enticing offer from a large restaurant chain that wanted to buy Ada's table. The offer promised financial security, but it would mean giving up control of her cafe. Ada wrestled with the decision. She consulted Chisholm, Mrs. Akanum, and even Emeka, who had become a steady presence in her life again. "This place isn't just a business," Emeka said. "It's a part of you. Don't let anyone take that away." In the end, Ada decided to decline the offer. Ada's table isn't just about profit, she explained to her team. It's about community, quality, and staying true to our values. Her decision only deepened the loyalty and respect of her staff and customers. With the cafe thriving, Ada felt a strong desire to give back to the community that had supported her journey. She launched a cooking workshop series, teaching people how to make simple, nutritious meals at home. The workshops were a hit, drawing participants from all walks of life. One day, during a session, a young woman approached Ada with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "You've inspired me to pursue my dream of becoming a chef." The encounter reminded Ada of how far she had come and the impact she could have on others. She felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that her journey was making a difference. Months later, Ada hosted a special dinner at the cafe to celebrate its one-year anniversary. The event brought together friends, family, and loyal customers. As Ada looked around the room, she felt a wave of gratitude. Mrs. Akanum raised a glass in a toast. To Ada, whose courage and determination turned a dream into reality. Here's to many more years of success. The room erupted in applause, and Ada's eyes welled up with tears. In that moment, she realized that Ada's table was more than a cafe. It was a symbol of resilience, growth, and the power of following one's passion. The success of Ada's table continued to grow, and with it came new opportunities. One day, Ada received an invitation to participate in a prestigious culinary competition. The event, featuring chefs from across the country, was an opportunity to showcase her talent on a national stage. Though hesitant, Ada knew this was a chance to elevate her brand and tell her story to a larger audience. Chisholm and Mrs. Ickanum rallied around her, offering support and encouragement. "You've got this, Ada," Mrs. Ickanum said. "Your food speaks for itself." With their confidence fueling her, Ada decided to enter the competition. She spent weeks perfecting her recipes, drawing inspiration from the meals she had grown to love and master over the years. The day of the competition arrived, and Ada felt a mix of nerves and excitement. As she prepared her dishes, memories of her journey flooded her mind. The struggles, the triumphs, and the people who had helped her along the way. When her name was announced as the winner of the competition, Ada could hardly believe it. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she accepted the award, knowing this was just the beginning of an even bigger chapter in her life. Winning the competition brought Ada national attention. Food critics and media outlets clamored to feature her, and Ada's table became a household name. Despite the whirlwind of fame, Ada remained grounded. She continued to prioritize the cafe and her connection with her community. However, the newfound attention also brought its challenges. The increased pressure and expectations threatened to overwhelm her. "Stay true to your roots," Mrs. Ickanum reminded her. "That's what makes you special." To keep herself centered, Ada made it a point to spend time with her customers, listening to their stories and sharing her own. It was during one of these moments that she met a young boy who reminded her of herself as a child, curious, eager, and full of potential. Inspired by their conversation, Ada decided to launch a scholarship program to support aspiring chefs from underprivileged backgrounds. As Ada reflected on her journey, she realized how much she had grown, not just as a chef, but as a person. She had transformed her passion into a thriving business, built meaningful relationships, and made a lasting impact on her community. Yet, she knew there was still more to achieve. With plans to open a second location and expand her workshops, Ada felt a renewed sense of purpose. She also looked forward to her future with Emeka, who had become a constant source of love and support. Together, they dreamed of what was to come, both personally and professionally. Standing in the kitchen of Ada's table one evening, as the scent of freshly cooked jollof rice filled the air, Ada smiled to herself. This was her life, a life she had built with hard work, determination, and a lot of heart. And she knew the best was yet to come. With her newfound fame, Ada began receiving requests from young chefs eager to learn from her. She decided to start a mentorship program at Ada's table, inviting aspiring cooks to train in her kitchen. The program not only provided practical skills, but also instilled in them the values Ada had come to cherish: resilience, authenticity, and community. One of her men's, a shy but talented young woman named Nneka, reminded Ada of herself in her early days. Nneka's passion for cooking was evident, but she struggled with confidence. Ada took her under her wing, sharing not only techniques but also the lessons she had learned on her journey. "Cooking isn't just about the food," Ada told her. "It's about the heart you put into it." As Nneka's skills and confidence grew, Ada felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized that her legacy wouldn't just be the dishes she created, but the lives she touched and the opportunities she provided for others. One afternoon, Ada was surprised to see her parents walk into the cafe. She hadn't seen them in months, as their busy schedules often kept them away. They looked around, taking in the warm atmosphere and the bustling energy of Ada's table. "This is amazing, Ada," her mother said, tears glistening in her eyes. "We're so proud of you," her father nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "You've built something truly special here. It's more than we ever imagined." Ada's heart swelled with gratitude. She invited them to sit down and served them a meal herself, pouring all her love and pride into every bite. For the first time, she felt a sense of closure with her parents. Their acknowledgement of her success was a moment she had longed for, and it strengthened their bond. As Ada's table celebrated its second anniversary, the cafe had become more than just a restaurant. It was a hub for the community. The scholarship program was thriving, the mentorship initiative was changing lives, and the cafe itself was a testament to Ada's vision and perseverance. Ada and Emeka had grown closer, their relationship blossoming with mutual support and understanding. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through the city, Emeka stopped and turned to her. "Ada, you've built so much with your hands and your heart. I want to build a life with you." He knelt down and held out a ring. "Will you marry me?" Overcome with emotion, Ada nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes," she whispered, knowing that this was the beginning of yet another beautiful chapter in her life. Ada and Emeka's wedding was a celebration of love, family, and community. True to Ada's passion, the food was the centerpiece of the event. She worked closely with Mrs. Akanum and her team to create a menu that reflected her journey, a blend of traditional and modern flavors that told her story. As she stood with Emeka, surrounded by friends and family, Ada realized that her life had come full circle. The shy, uncertain woman who once feared the kitchen had grown into a confident chef, entrepreneur, and mentor. She had turned her passion into her purpose, and in doing so, she had found happiness, love, and fulfillment. Ada's life after the wedding took on a new rhythm, blending personal joy with her expanding professional ambitions. Together, she and Emeka dreamed of how they could further impact their community. Inspired by their conversations, Ada decided to open a culinary school under the Ada's Table banner. The school aimed to teach more than just cooking. It was a place where students learned to honor their heritage, innovate with local ingredients, and embrace the discipline of running a kitchen. Nneka, now a confident sous chef at Ada's Table, took on the role of a mentor at the school, inspiring the next generation of chefs. The school quickly became a beacon for culinary talent, attracting students from across the region. Ada marveled at how far her dream had come and took pride in watching her students thrive, knowing she was fostering a legacy of excellence and community. Months into the success of her school, Ada was invited to judge the same national culinary competition that had catapulted her to fame. The invitation was both an honor and a full-circle moment. Sitting on the judges' panel alongside culinary giants, Ada felt a mix of pride and humility. As she tasted the contestants' dishes, she saw glimpses of her own journey in their work, the nervous energy, the bold creativity, and the desire to make their mark. When the competition concluded, Ada gave a heartfelt speech, encouraging the chefs to remain true to their passions and never fear the hard work required to achieve their dreams. Afterward, a young contestant approached her. "Your words mean so much," they said. "I've followed your story, and it's inspired me to keep going." Ada realized that her influence had grown far beyond her cafe and community. Her story was now a beacon of hope and perseverance for countless aspiring chefs. Back in the cafe, Ada began experimenting with new ideas for the menu. She wanted to create dishes that honored her heritage while embracing modern techniques. Emeka became her trusted taste tester, providing honest feedback and encouragement. One evening, as they shared a quiet dinner, Emeka proposed an idea. "What if we open a restaurant abroad? Share the flavors of Ada's Table with the world." The idea thrilled Ada, though it also intimidated her. Expanding internationally was a monumental step, but with Emeka's unwavering support and her team's growing expertise, she began to see the possibility. Together, they started planning, researching locations, and connecting with potential partners. Ada's journey had taught her that no dream was too big if pursued with passion and purpose. As she envisioned the future, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the challenges and triumphs that had shaped her path. Her story, she realized, was far from over. The dream of taking Ada's Table abroad began to take shape as Ada and Emeka zeroed in on their first international location, London, a city renowned for its diverse culinary scene. The idea of introducing the rich flavors of Nigerian cuisine to a global audience excited Ada, but it also presented new challenges. The couple traveled to London to scout locations, meet with investors, and immerse themselves in the city's culture. Ada was struck by the vibrant energy of the city and its appreciation for unique dining experiences. She knew that this was the perfect place to tell her story on an even larger stage. Back home, the preparations for expansion began. Ada worked tirelessly with her team to adapt the menu for an international audience without losing the essence of the flavors that defined Ada's table. She also leaned on her culinary school graduates, selecting a few to join her in this new venture. "This isn't just my dream," Ada told them. "It's ours." The day of the London restaurant's grand opening arrived with much anticipation. The space was a reflection of Ada's vision, modern yet rooted in tradition, with warm hues and intricate designs inspired by Nigerian culture. As guests poured in, the air buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Ada greeted the diners personally, explaining the stories behind each dish. From suya-inspired skewers to her signature jollof rice, the menu was a celebration of her heritage. The evening was a resounding success, with rave reviews pouring in from both critics and patrons. "This isn't just food," one guest remarked. "It's an experience." Though the launch was a milestone, Ada knew it was just the beginning. She and her team committed to maintaining the high standards that had defined Ada's table from the start. For Ada, the success of the London location was proof that her vision could resonate anywhere. As the London restaurant thrived, Ada and Emeka found themselves navigating the complexities of balancing their personal and professional lives. Long hours and the demands of running multiple locations tested their relationship, but they remained each other's strongest support. One evening, during a rare moment of quiet, Emeka surprised Ada with a trip back to their hometown. "I think we need a reminder of where this all began," he said. The visit rekindled Ada's memories of her early struggles and the people who had supported her along the way. Seeing her parents, Chisholm, and Mrs. Akanum brought everything into perspective. "No matter how far we go, this will always be home," Ada said, her voice filled with gratitude. The trip renewed her determination to stay grounded and focused on her values. With Ada's table flourishing in both Nigeria and London, Ada began to think about the future. She wanted her story to inspire others long after she was gone. At Emeka's suggestion, she decided to write a memoir, a book that would share her journey, her struggles, and the lessons she had learned along the way. The process of writing was both cathartic and challenging. Ada revisited memories she hadn't thought about in years, from the cockroach in her meal that changed everything to the moments of doubt that nearly derailed her dreams. But as she wrote, she realized how far she had come and how much she had to be proud of. When the book was published, it became an instant bestseller. Readers around the world connected with Ada's story, finding inspiration in her resilience and authenticity. The memoir solidified her legacy, ensuring that her journey would continue to inspire for generations to come. With her memoir topping bestseller lists, Ada found herself in the spotlight once again. Invitations to speak at international conferences, culinary festivals, and even universities poured in. She embraced these opportunities, traveling to share her journey and the values that had guided her success. At one conference in Paris, Ada delivered a keynote address titled "The Heart of Cooking." She spoke passionately about the importance of preserving cultural heritage through food and the power of perseverance in the face of challenges. The audience gave her a standing ovation, and Ada felt a deep sense of purpose. Back in London, Ada took time to reflect on how far she had come. She visited the restaurant late one evening, walking through the empty dining room and imagining the countless stories that had unfolded there. She realized that her success was not just measured by accolades, but by the joy and connections her food had brought to others. Inspired by her experiences, Ada began to explore new ways to share her love of Nigerian cuisine with the world. She partnered with a streaming platform to create a cooking show, Ada's Kitchen, which featured her teaching traditional recipes while sharing stories of their cultural significance. The show was a hit, resonating with viewers from diverse backgrounds. Families wrote to Ada, telling her how her recipes had brought them closer and how they felt connected to a culture they had never experienced before. Ada realized that food truly had the power to bridge gaps and create understanding. Meanwhile, Emeka took on a larger role in managing their growing business empire, allowing Ada to focus on her creative passions. Together, they formed a formidable team, their shared vision continuing to drive their success. As Ada's influence grew, so did her desire to give back. She established the Ada's Table Foundation, dedicated to supporting culinary education and food security initiatives in underprivileged communities. The foundation provided scholarships, built community kitchens, and funded programs to combat hunger. Ada took a hands-on approach, often visiting project sites and working alongside volunteers. She found immense joy in these efforts, knowing she was making a tangible difference in people's lives. For Ada, this was the ultimate fulfillment of her dream, to use her platform to uplift others. As the years passed, Ada and Emeka welcomed 2 children into their lives. Parenthood brought new challenges and joys, adding another layer of meaning to their journey. Ada found herself teaching her children the same values that had guided her: hard work, humility, and the importance of community. The children often joined her in the kitchen, their laughter filling the air as they tried their hands at kneading dough or seasoning stews. Ada cherished these moments, knowing that she was passing down a legacy of love and connection through food. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of Ada's Table, Ada organized a global food festival featuring chefs from around the world who had been inspired by her work. The event was held in Lagos and attracted visitors from across the globe. The festival was a vibrant celebration of culture, creativity, and community. Ada felt immense pride as she walked through the bustling stalls, sampling dishes and hearing stories of how her journey had influenced others. The festival was a testament to the power of food to unite people and tell stories that transcended borders. In her later years, Ada stepped back from the daily operations of her business to focus on her family and personal passions. She continued to mentor young chefs and write, her love for storytelling as strong as ever. Emeka and their children remained her greatest source of support and joy. One sunny afternoon, Ada sat on the porch of her home, surrounded by her family. As they shared a meal she had prepared, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her here. From a young woman hesitant to step into a kitchen to a global ambassador for Nigerian cuisine, Ada's life had been a testament to the transformative power of resilience and passion. Smiling, she raised her glass in a toast. To family, to food, and to the stories that bring us together. Her family echoed the toast, their voices mingling with the laughter and love that filled the air. Ada knew that her story would live on, not just in books or restaurants, but in the hearts and homes of those she had touched.